Depending on, because we're starting late, depending on what we can get through, we might get through 2 chapters, or actually 3. If we get through 2, we'll get through 3, because the third one will be just understood by default. If we get through the first 2, I don't think there should be a problem. But just in case, I'm going to try to do this if we can, because they're all connected. These 3 chapters are all connected, inshallah. So, نصب الفعل المضارع. نصب الفعل المضارع. This is nasb, to make the fi'l mudari, the present tense verb, mansoob. What makes the present tense verb mansoob? Right? Nasb. So the first example is Uridu an uhsina as-sibaha. Uridu, I want to, an uhsina as-sibaha. I want to improve, basically, or master, maybe, depends on how the person means it, but it could mean both of them. I want to improve or master swimming, from Hasan, to be good. So uhsinu, I want to improve or master swimming. As-sibaha. As-sibaha is swimming. I want to improve, or I want to master swimming. Alright? So we see after an, uridu in the beginning is a present tense verb, but it's marfu'. But after the word an is another present verb, uhsinu. But because of an, it becomes uhsina. So an is one of those words which is going to make the present tense verb mansoob. Read the second one, Muharram.
أرجو أن يعتدل الجو.
No. Arju, I hope. And ya'tadila, that it becomes moderate. Al-jaw, the weather. The weather. Al-jaw is the weather. كيف الجو اليوم في St. Louis. الجو بارد. الجو حار. الجو معتدل. Right? The weather's cold, the weather's hot, the weather's nice, it's warm, in between, balance, right? Arju an ya'tadila al-jaw. Right? Read number 3 for us, Yasin.
يسرنا أن تزورنا.
It should be yansuruni, but the dots aren't there.
يسرني أن تزورنا.
Yeah, yasuruni, meaning it makes me happy. Yasuruni, it makes me happy, and tazurana, that you visit us. And tazurana, after an. Yasuruni, again, marfu', right? Yasuruni and tazurana, it makes me happy that you visit us. Inshallah, we'll visit you soon, Yasin, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Then the next one, it says, Hafadal.
The two verbs, they're both verbs?
Are they what?
Are they both verbs though? Like, is it a verb followed by a verb? Like yusurani, it makes me happy.
Yeah, these are all where you got a verb and then another verb. But inshallah, you have an, which is normally a connector between 2 verbs.
Okay.
And appears before a verb, but is normally a connector between 2 verbs. Inshallah, in the notes it'll explain it, inshallah. Like, You can't say uridu uhsina. No, uridu an uhsina. Just like if you say I need something, right? Like if you say I need milk, that's different. Ahtaj ila al-laban or ila al-halib. But if you say I need to go to the school, for example, أحتاج أن أذهب. أحتاج أن أذهب. Because أن, like if I say أقول subhanallah, I said subhanallah. But if I say and then a verb, I say أقول and I can't think of anything right now. But an is a connector between two verbs. And the verb that follows an is going to be mansub. But a sentence is not going to start with an, right? But it's going to be a connector between two verbs. Then we have len. Len akdib. Len akdib. I will not lie. Len akdib. Len akdiba. I will not lie. Muharram.
لن يفوز الكسلان.
نعم. لن يفوز الكسلان. لن يفوز. He will not succeed. Al-Kaslan, the lazy person. The lazy person, Al-Kaslan, lan yafuza. He will not succeed. This is in the future. Lan akdib, I will not lie. Lan yafuza, he will not succeed. Read the next one, Yasin.
لن أضرب القطة.
لن أضرب القطة. I will not hit the cat. I will not beat the cat. لن أضرب القطة. I will not hit or beat the cat. Okay. Now there's some more examples down there because we have a couple more words that are going to make the sentence mansub, or the verb mansub rather. إذن تقيم عندنا. إذن تقيم عندنا. I'm going to read the rest of it to make sense. تجيب بذلك من قال. This is an answer. This here is an answer to someone who says سأزور مدينتكم. If someone says سأزور مدينتكم, I'm going to visit your city, then a person would answer إذن تقيم عندنا. إذن, then تقيم عندنا. You will stay with us. تقيم, to stay somewhere, to be like a resident. You will then reside with us. عندنا. إذن تقيم عندنا. The same thing goes if someone says سأكون أمينا. I'm going to be trustworthy. Then the person would say what, Muharram? How would he respond? Sa'akunu aminin. I'm going to be trustworthy.
إذن تريح
Tarbah. It's a ba. No.
Okay. إذن تربح تجارتك.
نعم. إذن تربح تجارتك. Then your trading, your tijara, your business that you're going to do, if you're ameen, Your tijara is going to be profitable. Tarbah. It's going to profit. Idin tarbaha tijaratuk. Then your transactions are going to profit. They're going to bring you profit. Same thing if someone says, Fadl.
This إذن, this is the first time I see it written like this with a noon sakin.
No, we're going to get there, inshallah.
Okay.
We're going to get there, inshallah.
Okay.
سأغلق النوافذ. If someone says to Yasin, سأغلق النوافذ, I'm going to close the window. Nawafid is window, or windows. I'm going to close the windows. سأغلق النوافذ, with nafida would be one. He's going to say to that person,
إذن يفسد الهواء.
نعم. إذن يفسد الهواء. يفسد الهواء. Then the wind will become not corrupt, even though that's facade, meaning the wind is going to become stale. It's not going to be fresh anymore, right? It's going to become stagnant. The wind is going to be stagnant and stale. And, you know, that's like what happens when bread is no longer any good. It becomes hard. Yafsudu. It becomes stale, right? It becomes rotten, you know. So yafsuda. Yafsuda could be rotten too. The meat is fasid, right? The laham, al-laham fasid, meaning the meat is rotten. But everything doesn't have to be rotten to be fasid. It doesn't have to be rotten. It could be stale. It could be just expired, right? So here we mean yafsuda al-hawa, meaning it's going to become stale in the room. The air is going to be, you know, I don't know what you would say in English. I think maybe stale or something like that. It's not going to be fresh and moving around, right? So idhin is an answer. Idhin is an answer to someone who makes a statement. Idhin means then or therefore. Idhin with the noon, and idhin with the alif. Idhin with the noon is a nasib to a fi'l mudari, whereas idhin is not. But idhin can make the verb nasib, or it can make it jazm, or it can make it marfu'. It could just leave it marfu'. I wrote that wrong. Marfu'. Whereas idhin is always going to be from the mansubat. Idhin. Whereas idhin am I getting married or something? MashaAllah. Okay. Here, I'm going to try to read it real quick. This idhin is an answer. Idhin here is an answer. It's never written like this in the Quran. It's always written as idhin with the alif. It's always written as idhin with the alif. But I can use this idhin that's circled in blue in place of the idhin in red. But I can't always use the red one in place of the blue one. Is that understood? So idhin in the red is an answer. It's called jawab. Harf jawab. Meaning, like we said in the example, Sa'azuru madinatakum. I'm going to visit your city. Idhin tuqima indana. Then you're going to stay with us. So a person said something, and someone else said an answer responding to that statement. So for instance, سأجتهد في الدراسة. I'm going to study hard. I'm going to work hard in my studies. Then the person says, idhin satanja. Then you will pass. You will succeed. You will succeed. You will pass. Right? So idhin is a response. Whereas idhin with the aleph in the blue circle here is not always a jawab, and it's not always going to make the fail a nasab. But I could use this idhin in this blue circle as a replacement for the idhin in the red circle, as we find in the Quran. We don't ever have the idhin with the noon. We have the idhin with the aleph. Right?
Okay.
So, and it implies the future, as we see in these sentences as well. I'm going to visit your city, then you're going to stay with us. I'm going to be truthful and trustworthy, then your business will profit. I'm going to close the windows, then the air will become stale. So, idhin is a nasab, and for the mustaqbil. The mustaqbal. It's for the future. Right? It's for the future. And it makes the fi'l after it nasib. Okay, now idhin, right? It can be a harf of jawab or other than that. So you can use it in place of idhin with the noon. You could use the idhin with the aleph in place of the idhin with the noon. But, right? I'm trying to read this here. But it's not going to necessarily make the verb after it mansoob, depending on how it's being used. So here, I'm going to read some of the things that you can say. Okay, here's the rules for idhin. That it be something that's going to take place in the future. Right?
You're
and
talking
that,
about the first one.
The first one, idhin with the noon, right. That is something that's going to take place in the future, and that there's nothing in between it. And I'll give you an example of something in between it here. I'm looking at it on my phone here. Something in between it. If, for instance, idhin, so we have this first example. Sa'azuru madinatakum, right? Madinatakum, because it's, what am I visiting? I'm visiting your city. Mansoob, maf'ulun bih. So, for instance, Sa'azuru madinatakum. Here, he said, idhin tuqima indana. But if he said, idhin fiddar akramuka. Like, I'm going to visit you, right? Idhin fiddar akramuka. This prepositional phrase here, jar wa majroor, fiddar, is going to prevent the idhin from doing its job. You understand?
Okay.
Whereas if I said, idhin wallahi tuqima indana, the wallahi is not going to stop it. You understand? If I say wallahi, it wouldn't stop it. If I said, idhin ya muharram tuqima indana, the ya muharram is not going to stop it. Right? And if I said Allah, for instance, idhin la tuqima illa indana. So these three things, right? Idhin, it's going to be a nasib of the fi'l mudari. It's going to be in al-mustaqbal. It's going to be a jawab, an answer to someone else's statement, right?
Mhm.
And it has to be mu'tasal. Has to be connected to the verb. Connected, right? Except for like what's it called? Al-Qasam, which would be like Wallahi, right? So you could have idhin, Wallahi, and then the verb is not going to change it, right? Or it could be An-Nida, right? An-Nida, so I say the verb idhin, right? Idhin, Yasin, right? And then it will do it. Or it could be la. So it could be the la of An-Nahw. La An-Nahw. These three things will not. So I say idhin la tuqima tuqima illa عندنا. These three things, this la of An-Nahw, this qasam, and this nida, they will not prevent the nasb of the fi'l mudari. But if I add another one in there, like we said over here, idhin fiddar akramuka, this harf jar now, since I added a phrase in there, a shibh jumla, which they say it's like a phrase, shibh jumla, then it's going to prevent the nasb. Right?
Okay.
Idhin with the alif. I know that's an ugly one. I wrote it ugly. Let me do it again. Idhin, just did it again. Idhin with the alif. Okay, let's see here. The rules here. The rules here, let me see. Okay, that's not the rules, that's examples. Let's see where the rules at then. I just had them earlier. 1 second, I'm looking for the rules again. Idhin. Okay. Okay, idhin could come in place of idhin with the alif, could come in place of idhin with the noon, and it could make the verb mansub. So for instance, you could say okay, idhin here, let me see, I'll just do it like this. Idham could make the fi'l majzoom, or it could make it mansub, or it could make it marfu'. Right? Not make it marfu', but leave it marfu', basically. Let's find some examples here. Okay. If we use it as a harf al-jawab, an answer, like we have in our examples here. So for instance, we say, as an example, we say, I'm sorry here, give me 1 second. Anta mu'min tattaqi Allah idhin taqulu al-haq. Anta mu'min idhin taqulu al-haq. You're a believer. Anta mu'min. I cut out some of the sentences just for shortness. Idhin taqulu or تقول, just said it, تقول الحق. Because here, إذن, with the alif is being used as a jawab, right? أنت مؤمن, you're a believer. Therefore, say the truth, right? It's being used as an answer to the first part. Or it could be used as a dharf for the future only. That's for the mansoob. I wrote it for the medzum, but that's for the mansoob here. This one is for here, right? Okay. Let me see. I'm reading these examples. Give me a second. Because I looked this up before the class in order to okay, here we have like وقفت ب and it doesn't when it's marked. Let me see. Let me read this again up here. I'm sorry. Give me a second. Okay. Okay. جزم الفعل إن تأتيني آتك يتم إلغاء الحرف الجازم بالفعل. It doesn't make sense to me there. إن تأتيني آتك. One second, brothers. I'm sorry here. I'm trying to read these and go down this article at the same time on my phone. Okay. Okay. So. Okay, إذن, for instance, مجزوم, the مجزوم one, because it's going to appear before a past tense verb. Whereas we see in all the first ones, it's for the mustaqbal, and therefore the mustaqbal is using a present tense verb, right? It uses a present tense verb. The mustaqbal uses the fi'l mudari. It's the same verb. We don't have a different tense in Arabic for al-mustaqbal. Al-mustaqbal is the same as the mudari. So here in the majzoom, we say إذا اجتهدت إذا اجتهدت نجحت. Okay, نجحت اجتهدت. Okay, this ta is not the same as the mansoob. This ta is the anta, right? Anta. This ta stands for the anta, the pronoun anta, you. So here we have it majzoom. إذا اجتهدت, if you would have put in effort, you would have been successful. So we see here, this one, إذن, can go before a past tense verb as well, right? It can go in the past, and it can go in the future. As we can replace it, the إذن with the alif can replace the إذن with the noon. So, whereas the إذن with the noon is only going to be for the mustaqbal. Whereas idhin with the alif can be before the mustaqbal or before the madi. And then the other one, where it's marfu', it's called حرف المفاجأة ونزع يده فإذا هي بيضاء, which is not necessarily even before a verb, right? Which is not necessarily even before a verb. فوقفت بشرفتي فإذا الهلال كبريق من الفضة. Okay, so this one could be used as either can be used like here, like when or if then at that point. And the word after would be marfu'. So therefore, idhin can be used with the alif, can be used before past tense, present tense, or future, right? Future, or before a noun. Whereas idhin with the noon can only be used before the present tense. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Idhin with the noon, the present or the future tense. It can only be used with the present or the future tense. The future, same thing. So idhin is for the future tense only. It's an answer to a question. It has to be connected except for these three short things which can interrupt it, and is going to make the verb mansub. Whereas idhin with the alif, the verb following can be mansub in place of idhin with the noon, or it could be majzoom in the past tense, or it could be the word after being marfu' as if it's before a noun. So that's the difference. But in the Quran, we're always going to find idhin with the alif. And I'll finish this inshallah. We only got through one part of the verb. We started a little late, and I was a little less prepared on the difference between the two than I thought I was. All right? And then we have jittu kay ata'allama. Jittu, I came, from ja'a, jittu, I came, kay ata'allama. Kay means so that, or in order to. I came in order to learn. I came so that I would learn, or so that I learn. Kharajtu kay atanazzaha. I left out so that I could, atanazzaha is like to take a stroll, right? To take a stroll, to go sightseeing, right? Kharajtu kay atanazzaha. Ata'allamu kay akhduma al-watan. I learn kay, so that, or in order to, akhduma from khadama, yakhdimu, so that I could serve al-watan, the nation. I could serve the country. I could serve the nation, right? My homeland. Al-Watan. Ata'allamu kay akhduma al-Watan. I learn so that I can serve my country. We go here, we see the rule. Yunsab al-fi'l mudari'. The fi'l mudari, the present tense verb, becomes mansub متى سبقه أحد النواصب الأربع. When سبقه precedes it أحد النواصب الأربع, one of the four nawasib. Those things which make something mansub is called a nasib, right? In or an is a nasib, len is a nasib, idin is a nasib, k is a nasib, and together they are nawasib, the plural. Nawasib al-arba. So the present tense verb becomes mansoob when it's preceded by one of the four particles of nasb, which are an, lan, idhin, and k. An, lan, idhin, k. An, lan, idhin, k. An, lan, idhin, k. Those are the four nawasib of the fi'l mudari. If they appear before the fi'l mudari, then they're going to make it mansoob. If the lan, if the an is a connector between two verbs, len is a negator of the future. Len adhab, I'm not going. Len adrus, I won't study. Right? Len is a negator of the future. An is a connector between two verbs. Idhin is an answer, a jawab. It's an answer to a statement. Right? And K is just so that. Right? Showing I do this so that, or this was so that was, or so that would be, whatever. K in order to, or so that. So an, lan, idhin, and k. These are our four words. If they appear before a verb, a fi'l mudari, they're going to change. And what we learned, and we didn't get there, inshallah ta'ala, but what we can see from this is that this is only for the fi'l mudari, because the fi'l amr and the fi'l madi, the command verb and the past tense verb, they never change. They're called mabni. Mabni, they don't change. It's always going to be what it is. The past tense verb is always going to be what it is no matter what's before it, as well as the command verb is going to be what it is no matter what's before it. So the fi'l mudari is the only thing we're changing. If we see a fi'l madi or command verb, we don't have to see what's going to be on the end of it, because we already know, because there's only one thing on the end of that verb, the madi and the amr. Whereas the fi'l mudari, then we have to worry about is something coming before it or after it and what's going on. Then we have to worry about that only for the fi'l mudari. An, lan, idhin, wa kay. An, lan, idhin, wa kay. You should say that all night or all day, Yasin. An, lan, idhin, kay. An, lan, idhin, kay. These are from the nawasib of the fi'l mudari. An appears between two verbs. Lan is a negator of the future. Idhin is an answer to a statement in the future. Statement in the future. Something is going to happen in the future. I'm going to visit Kuwait, then you're going to meet the Mashayikh. I'm going to Mecca, then you're going to make Umrah. Or as an example, I'm going to make Umrah. Inshallah, I'm not going to do any sins when I do so. Then you will be forgiven. Right? Then your sins, like this, in the future. And K is so that. Idhin, with the noon is the nasab. It's for the future. It's an answer, and it's connected, except with these three exceptions in the connection there. If there's other type of something in between the idhin and the fi'l, other than the qasam, the nida, or the la of an-nafiya, then it's not going to make the verb mansoob, because there's too much in between it then. Then you have idhin with the alif. It can take the place of idhin with the noon in the future and make it mansoob, or it can go before a past tense verb and make it majzoom with a sukoon, or it could go before a noun and it be marfu', and they both kind of mean the same thing, right? But as far as meaning, but their usage is different according to what we showed here today. Is it clear?
Yes.
The first one, even though I didn't see it, this was the first time it settled in better than this one, even with Elif. But maybe as we go, I'll catch up, inshallah.
Inshallah. And what we'll do is when we read the hadith and we read the books, we're going to see the two different ones. Because it's not in the, even with the noon is not in the Quran, but it's going to be in hadith, it's going to be in books of the mashayikh, you understand? So when we see that, then we'll see it. Inshallah ta'ala, today I'll find some examples from the books. I'll find some like regular examples from speech, but then I'll also find some books from, some examples from hadith or from statements of the scholars or something with the idhin, and we'll compare them and I'll send them to you guys on WhatsApp, inshallah.
Okay.
Allah.
Jazakallah khair.
Wa yakum. I hope it's clear. Like I said, everything don't have to be understood in one day, but you know, it's gonna get you know, in the book, if we look, this is the rule. In the book, you have all this exercises. All this we're looking at is just exercises for what we just did. You know what I mean? Now you get into the there's still exercises here. Now you would get into the jazm of the fi'l. What makes a fi'l mudari majzoom, right? What makes the fi'l mudari majzoom with a sukoon? That's a whole nother thing. But all that's exercises. We didn't do any of those, but we're going to do them inside of the adhkar wal adab and the nawaqid al-Islam and the thalathatul usul and quad al-arba, like that. You understand? So inshallah, jazakumullah khairan ya akhwan. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Wa barakallahu feek.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.